Okay, so we're going to start with our basic questions. So, how old are you?
36.
Where did you go to high school?
Conestoga High School.
And what are your parents' names?
Barbara and Michael.
And where did they go to school?
High school?
High school?
Well, they both went to Conestoga as well.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have any siblings?
I do. I am the middle child. I have an older sister, Janae, and a younger sister, Judy.
And are you married?
I am.
And we obviously saw you have children.
Yes, I have 3 children. Jasmine's 5, Justin is 4, and Jared is 1.
Nice. Do you have any hobbies?
Besides taking care of them, I like to read.
You like to read?
Yes, I like to read
I love to
novels.
read.
Yes.
Yeah. I love to do that, especially on the beach.
Yeah.
I like to lay and read on the beach.
Do you like
yeah.
to read fiction, or?
No, yeah. Normally nonfiction.
Yeah.
Just regular novels. Not nonfiction, fiction books,
Yeah.
sorry. Regular novels. I like a lot of Christian writers, like Karen Kingsbury. I love her books. So, just stuff like that.
Let's see. How was your experience growing up in Mount Pleasant?
At the time, you have nothing to compare it to, you know. So I really enjoyed it because I grew up around a ton of family. I think at the time there was at least 71 of us that lived in this area growing up. So it was wonderful. Of course, you get into like little girl fights, you know, here and there.
Yeah.
So one day you're friends with people and then the next you're not. But they were all family, so it wasn't like you were mad at each other forever. So it was a lot of fun as a kid. I think the downside to it was I'm an extrovert, for one, but I think I tended to have, and no one will probably agree with me, but I tended to have issues making friends because I never had to. Because I had a ton of family that were my age around, so I didn't have to make friends outside of everybody that was here, if that makes any sense. So I don't have like the childhood friend that I grew up with. Now since college, all of my friends now are like my best friends still, but like I want my kids to learn to like make friends in preschool and through grade school, because I had my friends, but I didn't really have to have like a best friend because I wasn't an only child and I had a ton of friends to play with that were family, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was wonderful to answer your question. It was a lot of fun, but I can see it now as a downside to it.
Yeah. So would you see it more as an upside or a downside?
I'd say up. It was just nice having family. I mean, we went in and out of each other's homes. We ate at each other's homes. We had sleepovers all the time. I mean, there was never really a dull moment, you know? So there was always something to do or somewhere to go. So it's another thing. You didn't have to really learn to occupy your time much because there was so much always, you know, to do and going on. So it was just a safe environment where everybody knew each other, so we didn't lock our doors at night. I mean, it was just one of those type of revolving door type of environments growing up.
Yeah. So, do you have any favorite memories?
I do. A lot of them surround my dad because he loved kids. So he would always do stuff with the entire neighborhood. And of course, at the time, we were kids. So it was just like, we have the coolest dad because he's always doing this. He would rent limousines, and he and his, you know, my cousins would be going out on the night, you know, for a night out. And he'd make the limousine driver drive all the kids around for an hour before they needed to go. If he was taking us anywhere, he brought a ton of people with us. If anybody was running around playing tag with us, it was my dad. Like, he was just loved kids, and everybody always wanted Uncle Michael or Cousin Michael whenever he was around. It was like, you know, so they always came running. So, yeah, I guess. That's what I remember.
Did you face any challenges growing up?
I'm sure I did. I used to, I guess, hang out with older friends and relatives that were allowed to do things that I wasn't necessarily allowed to do, and I would do them without permission and then get on punishment for doing them. So I guess trying to fit in with other families that didn't have parents quite like my mother, who was more strict than some of my other cousins' parents. But I'm really glad that she was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, looking back at the time.
Yeah, at the time it's like no one else has a bedtime.
Yeah.
No one else has to ask permission to go here and there or, ride with this person anywhere. But she was always safety first. I need to know where you are, who you're with, what you're doing. I would say no to a lot of things, and looking back, I'm glad that she did.
Yeah.
But those were challenges as a kid. You're like, really, Mom? Like, everybody else is outside playing and I have a bedtime. Like, you know what I mean? So that was a challenge, just growing up with a different type of set of parents than some of my others that were just didn't care as much, I guess I could say. If that makes any sense.
So do you think that's going to affect the way you raise your kids now? Yeah.
I am overprotective, too. But see, they don't know any better yet, to know that it's out there, whereas some of their cousins are all over the place, and I just don't let them do those things, so I think I'm going to be the same way. Even though it was a challenge, but hopefully we can work through it. The balance between myself and my husband, he might make me let go of my reins a little bit, so we'll see.
Okay. So you said that you like reading Christian novels. So I'm guessing the church is a big role in your life?
It is, and it always has been. Did you finish your question, or?
No, well, kind of.
Okay. Yeah, I was raised in the church, and have always been religious and believed in God. And I'm doing the same with my children. Now, my husband was not raised in the church and kind of became saved and found God by knowing me. Same thing with like another girlfriend of mine, met me in college and now is a very active member in our church since 95 when I met her. But yes, it was the way I was brought up, and that's what the Bible says. Train up a child in the way he should go, and you will not depart from it, and I haven't. So, yeah.
So do you think that's a trait of Mount Pleasant?
Of course, nothing is 100%, but it is the community's church. Do you know what I mean? And I ventured out once I was married for a couple of years, and now we're back. There are those family members of mine and other people in the community that are not church people, and never went, to church and now do, but it's definitely been a big part of our community, like our church right there.
Yeah, so you attend the church
right at the top
there.
Of the street, First Baptist.
So you said you moved away. When did you move, and why did you move?
I didn't move away from here. I just meant as far as churches.
Okay.
We went to a different church. A couple years during school, when I was in college and things. I didn't live here at that time, but I came back and bought my house here. But yeah, when I was referring to moved, I meant joined a different church. Yes.
So you've always lived in Mount Pleasant besides those few?
For the most part.
In this house?
No.
No. Okay.
I lived down the street, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, I lived here short period of time after college. And I actually live in what was my father's family home down the street. I actually bought that a couple of years ago. And I've been here ever since. So I shouldn't say a couple of years ago. I've been in that home since like 2001. That's been a couple of years. Like, it's been quite a few years.
Seems like it was just yesterday.
I know. Yes, it's amazing that it's been that long. So
Yeah. Where did you go to college?
I did my bachelor's degree at Westchester University. My sister was getting married the year I was going to school, and she wouldn't allow me to go far away, so she thinks that's the reason why I stayed so close, but it wasn't. And then I did my master's and other teaching certificates and supervisory certificates and things at Immaculata University.
Mm-hmm.
So, still up in the same area, but Westchester and Immaculata.
So far, but not too far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not anywhere.
How do you think Mount Pleasant has changed over the years?
Wow. I think it's changed tremendously almost, because a lot of people that I grew up with that lived out here, one are either deceased or have moved away. A lot of my age group cousins all moved out of the community for various reasons. Some of them got married and moved to where their, spouses are, where there was nowhere else to live other than staying home, and, the goal is kind of not to do that. So you don't know everybody necessarily, and now we have houses that have college students like yourselves in them, and they change, rapidly, yearly, sometimes within a semester. Just with the world changing, doors are locked now, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So safety, is not like it used to be. Like, we could go anywhere, and my parents never really had to worry, and nowadays that's just not so much anymore. Things get older, and if people aren't in them, like houses to take care of them, things don't look as nice as they used to, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably how it's really changed.
Looking back on your life, have you ever had any racial conflicts?
In regards to living here?
Just kind of your experience in general, like school, work, anytime you ever felt something was...
I would be lying if I said no. I'm just not coming up with an example right now. A specific, but absolutely. Some probably very blatant, and some not so blatant. But just like you can kind of feel like someone likes you or doesn't like you, you can kind of tell if they're kind of discriminating against you. And then some people will just say things that are just, to them, they may think funny, or not, not a bad thing to say, and it is. Do you know what I mean? Or it, has no meaning to them, but it could to me,
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say absolutely. Yeah, I just can't really think of
A specific moment.
Yes.
So kind of little things here and there, but never like one giant thing that stuck with you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think your kids' experience growing up in Mount Pleasant is going to be different than your experience?
That's a really good question. I don't really know. My kids love being outside, and love playing with everybody. I just don't think that everyone, around has had the same upbringing, so I don't want certain negative influences to kind of, be so prevalent in their lives, but I can't protect them from everything. But also there's not as many of us around here. And people just being aware, like we had a lot of great aunts and uncles that were in the neighborhood that just kind of watched out for everybody, and I don't really have that anymore. So it's just probably not as safe as it used to be. So I think it would kind of be different in that aspect, that they wouldn't have as much free reign, I guess, as we kind of did. You just, we were just everywhere. There was just so many of us between this street and the next two streets over is what we consider the Mount Pleasant community. And yeah, I wouldn't be letting them just go, and walk around, because there's so many houses in between that are strangers to us. Do you know what I mean? Whereas before they just weren't. Every house was family. Even if you weren't really family, you were family.
You knew everyone.
You knew everybody.
Yeah.
And we just don't anymore. So that will probably be a big difference. Not that they'll know it's a difference, but I will.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So you said before there was like 71 of you, basically. So now, are there as many children around here, or?
You know what, to be honest, there's a lot of children, and I don't know all of them. Like, it seems like people appear all the time, and I'm like, whose kid is this? Like, who are you? And I'm sure they're probably a relative. I just don't know everybody, because I'm just, I don't know, just busy and not around everywhere, and just don't know everyone anymore. But there's still a good portion of kids. Again, not as many as there were when I was growing up.
Yeah, so in general, it's Mount Pleasant stayed pretty much family community, you would say, besides the few.
It is still somewhat that way. And people still look out for each other and things. And I think it's easier for it to be that way in like spring and summer months when you're outside and you're seeing more people, and through the winter months it's like a ghost town, like nobody's around. But it's still some, but not as many as before, by far. I haven't counted lately, but it's significantly less.
Mm-hmm. Who would you say was the most influential person in your life?
My mom.
Your mom.
Absolutely. Not too many people around like her, and many friends of mine have adopted her as their mom. You know what I mean? Because she's just the type of person that sometimes cares too much, if there's such a thing, about you, and will drive herself crazy to do things for you and everybody else. But she always had values and morals instilled in us that made us who we are today, and successful, saved, God-believing, fearing, going to church, you know what I mean? So, my sister was the first one in our family to go to college, and like I said, there was a lot of us. When I say 71, a lot of that was adults, but out of our cousins, she was the first one to go to college, and that wasn't even an option. For us, it was a must. Do you know what I mean? So, definitely my mom.
We mentioned the college kids earlier. What do you think about them moving into Mount Pleasant?
I'm kind of torn about it, because I was a college student not too long ago, and in Westchester there were many homes in regular communities that friends of mine lived in, so we were right in the community as well, and not so much aware of the fact that families are living next to you, do you know what I mean, with noise level and different things. So I'm torn in regards to that now I'm the one with the family, with college students living next to me. So I think I'm more understanding to certain things, and haven't really run into many problems with the college students. But I do think that when you're living in a community, which I wasn't the one with the houses, but I would visit them for parties and things. But when you're living in a community, there's just certain things that you should be aware of, and I don't know that landlords always make them aware of the dynamics of our community, and I think that's kind of important because there are a lot of little kids, and as a child, you don't think to get out the middle of the street anywhere. Until you're kind of taught that, and especially not if a ball goes rolling or whatever. And this is like a street where I would hate for someone to hit somebody on both ends. I would hate for the child to be hit, but I would hate to be the person driving the car just unaware of the fact that you should drive slowly down this street. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I, am sympathetic or empathetic to them as well, and have tried to embrace the fact that they're here and befriend them, and understand when they're having a loud party and it's 1:30 in the morning. I used to be, that person that, in college might have went to a party or something that didn't end, until whatever time it ended. So, yeah, it just all depends on the people and the respect level that they have for the community. So,
Do you think that the college students are affecting the Mount Pleasant community? Do you think they have a really big impact on it?
I think some people would probably say yes. Myself directly, not really. I think that some of them have come to our church and have joined our church and want to get involved in church activities, and then other people have had major problems with them. So I'd say yes, they're impacting it. Whether it's positive or negative just depends on where they're kind of located in the community and who they're the closest to, if that makes any sense. I've never had to live like right next door to any of the houses that rent them out. I am kind of diagonally down the street from a house, and I rarely hear them. Like maybe twice in a semester do I hear them in the middle of the night. So, which is just not that big of a deal to me. I don't sleep well anyway, so you know what I mean. And like I said, I remember that they're college kids. So, but I would say that other people have problems with it, and I just think it all depends on your age.
Yeah.
Too. Like some older people in the neighborhood may have more of a problem with just younger kids, period. You know what I mean? Doing anything that we do. So, it just depends.
So you're more understanding, like, what, have you heard the older people, like, what certain like, do they complain about?
Noise level, mostly.
Noise, yeah.
Whether you hear, the kids outside late at night drunk or hollering or fighting has happened. I know people have complained about them loudly in the middle of the nights turning around in their driveways and different things, and the lights shining in your windows and things, can disturb you and wake you up, versus we have a cul-de-sac at the end of the street where you could quietly go down, turn around, and come back up. So I think noise has been the biggest problem during, late hours.
But you've never witnessed, like, a fight yourself or anything?
No, I kind of hear about it the next day. Like, this is what happened last night, because I'm down the street, like I said, and most of the houses are before you get to my house, on our street. I've seen, though, the parties going on and different things just because of, I might be coming home late myself, but I haven't seen anything wrong going on, but I've heard about them. So.
In class, we heard that last year's class helped you to have a rusted truck taken away from your yard. How's that impacted your daily life?
Okay, so this truck, which became an eyesore, I was told nothing could happen about it because it was off the street. It was on private property, so the police couldn't do anything about it. The house next to me was sold and then torn down, and they've been trying to sell that lot forever. Somebody somewhere came and dumped this truck there. And I had nightmares about this truck because at the time, like, I think when it first came, I don't know if I was married yet. So it was like my girlfriend and myself living in this house, and I used to have nightmares about it because it had like this black tarp cover over the back, and I used to have dreams that something was in it or under it or going to come into our house in the middle of the night. Don't think I'm crazy, but I did. So
I completely understand
yes,
that.
it used to really, really bother me, and I used to have to like get it out my mind before I would go to sleep, or like look out the window and make sure. So it was creepy to me. And the truck looked horrendous, and as years went on, it even got worse. Like, it just seemed like it was filled with, like, snakes, you know, and other creatures in it. But I eventually got over the nightmare part of it and just wanted it gone because we had our property surveyed, and it was actually on my property. The majority of it, and some of it not. Like, the front corner of it wasn't on my property, but the rest of it was. But it actually was removed prior to me really, really starting to fight it after getting the our property surveyed. But I had all intentions. But I would also get letters on the door saying, this vehicle is not up to code and you're going to be cited for X, Y, and Z. I've also had to fight every year just to get the grass cut over there because, you know, in the cold winter months, you can have creatures and mice and things that are out there that I don't want to have come in my home because the grass is, you know, this high. So, just that property within itself and the truck has been a huge headache and a tremendous load taken off of us. And now we can park both of our cars in the driveway because that truck's not there. So yeah. I think everybody it helped us with it because I thought I was going to fall over dead when I got a knock at the door on a Saturday morning, and some man standing there who I've never seen before and said, hey, could you move your car because I'm expecting a tow truck in 20 minutes to come move the truck. And I said, babe, guess what? He was like, you're kidding. I said, no. You know, so we went flying. It was snowy a little bit, or snow was on the ground, and they came and got it, and they needed us to move like everything because of the tight space at the bottom of the street when you guys walked around down there. So they had to go into like our neighbor's driveway and back up, and I had to move my car. We had to end up moving both of our cars and our neighbor's car to get them to get it out of here, but I didn't really care because I was very happy and excited when it was actually gone. But it was creepy. Mm-hmm. It really was. I don't think I've ever told anybody that, but I used to have nightmares about it.
So how long? It was there for like over 10 years?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was there for a really, really, really long time. I want to say probably something close to that, maybe 8 years, something like that. 8 to 10 probably.
Yeah, that's a long
time. I haven't really thought about that. Yeah, I think that property might have been sold in 05 or 04, something like that. And then sometime after that is when they put the truck there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there anything else that you would like to say that you feel is important to record?
I didn't even really know why. I just think it's a really nice place to be. Obviously, since I came back and I've stayed, and I just hope it continues to go in that direction because we're actually in the process of buying some of the property from our neighbor to actually tear our home down and put up another home because we've weighed pros and cons of everything over the last 6 years and keep coming back to wanting to stay here. And especially with little kids because we can count on both hands the number of times where I've needed to call somebody in close proximity to come help me do something. And so it's just nice to be around family and to be in an environment where, for the most part, we feel is safe. Do you know what I mean? And don't have a reason to feel as though it's unsafe other than just knowing the world is kind of crazy, you know, today, but don't have like specific reasons why we're like, oh gosh, you know. So I like being here and want to stay here and raise my kids here, and both my husband and I feel that way. Do you know what I mean? He really likes it here, so I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else to add. And with our new pastor at our church and stuff, like, we're bringing more and more people out here and getting the college students to visit us and get involved. I think is great, and the things that you guys do, and you know, learning about it and touring and things, and then the barbecue thing at the end of the semester, I think you guys do. It's just a nice community thing, and then with the park up the street, you know, there's just a lot of community events that occur and can occur, you know, with the people that are here today. It's not like many people are at odds. You know how people just hate their neighbors and feud and things. We don't really have that here, outside of small issues with the houses that are rented out. But for the most part, people are friendly, you know what I mean, and get along. So, and that my kids walking up and down the street, you know, at certain times of the day where there's not a lot of traffic and things. But yeah, we really like being here.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm.